for the same reason that we need to study the tabernacle of the Old Testament. I will never build a tabernacle and do those types of sacrifices. But I think I need to understand the tabernacle and the temple system of the Old Testament because it reflects the mind and the desires of God. This is God's plan and God's desire for marriage. And even though you may have it all figured out, it's good to know what God thinks and why He thinks that. So the question is, what makes a good marriage? And what makes a bad marriage? Back on our 4th anniversary, I worked at a company in which everybody had a cubicle. And I walked into work on the day of my 4th anniversary, and somebody had decorated my cubicle and had balloons and stuffed animals and purple streamers coming down from the ceiling and made like little cage of streamers, and it was just amazing. And of course it was my wife, who had talked to a friend of mine at work and snuck in after hours and decorated my cubicle. That was wonderful in its own right. But the education that I got was that as the day progressed, people would come by and say, "Oh, happy anniversary," because there was anniversary balloons. And then some ladies would come by and say, "What anniversary is it?" I said, "4th." They said, "Don't worry, it won't last." Some ladies would just walk by and just go, and I found out that there was 2 groups of people. People who could look at a wedding anniversary and be happy for me, and people who could look at a wedding anniversary and put their own unhappiness on it and try to bring the rest of the world down. And so I talked with some of these ladies, and I talked with some of the men who I knew were married. And this is what I found out. There is a group of men who get married, I don't know if it's a few or a lot, who see marriage as a way to advance their own agenda, as a way to make their own plans come true. Perhaps they think, I want to buy a big motorcycle, but it's expensive, and with my own income, I cannot do it. So I will get married, and with 2 incomes, I'll be able to afford the motorcycle. Now, I doubt if any of them think about it that way. But it's clear in talking with hundreds of married people throughout the years that there is this idea that some men want marriage to satisfy their own selfish ambition. And if they are able to woo the woman and get married, and they continue with this view that the marriage is there to advance my own selfish ambition, eventually the wives will become very unhappy and feel unsupported. The result in selfish marriage is unhappy marriages. Now, we live in modern times, and so women can do that too today. Women can say, I can marry this guy, and he will take care of me, and I will be able to keep my job or my volunteer work or keep doing like I'm doing, and my sugar daddy will fund it. It has been said that the deepest craving of human nature is the need to be appreciated. And if you are in any relationship, whether it be husband and wife, whether it be parent and child, whether it be next door neighbor, whether it be person at work, if you are feeling unappreciated by this person you are in relationship to, Eventually, you will ask yourself, why am I in this relationship? It is too much work. The main reason that people feel unappreciated is that they are the giver in a relationship. If I give and give and give and give and give and give and give, I'm not given to, eventually I will get burned out. Now, if I get burned out with my next door neighbor, I can take a break. If I get burned out with my wife, that's an unhappy marriage. Being a taker in any relationship, especially marriage, is disastrous. Yet giving of yourself in any relationship, especially marriage, glorifies God. Peter has given a foundation to this godly view of marriage in the past chapter. He calls every Christian part of a royal priesthood, part of a chosen race, part of a holy nation. We are to honor everybody, love Christians, fear God, and honor the government. That isn't just for men, or just for women. It isn't just for husbands or just for wives. That is for everybody. So if I come into any relationship, especially marriage, with my goal to honor and love my wife, that means I lift her up. That means I show her off as a prize when I am doing things. It means that I will be giving of myself, that my number one job in the marriage is to make my wife happy. In Deuteronomy, it says, there comes a war. And men, if you get drafted, but you've just been married, you don't have to go. Men get to spend a whole year at home making their wives happy. It says it right there in the Bible. Men are supposed to make their wives happy. And so, we can look at this, submit to this, and master that, and lord this, and say, well, that's no good. That's putting men down. But that is putting women down. But that is kind of an American view. Consider, if you will, the news you've heard about Middle Eastern countries where women can't go to school, women can't drive, women can't show their faces. See, if we did that here, I wouldn't know if any of you were. So your faces would be covered. That's how early Judaism was. They treated women the same way that Middle Eastern countries treat women today. As property, as expendable, and if I want a large family, I can have as many women as I want because I'm the man. That's why when we hear things like Osama bin Laden was one of 51 kids because his dad had 28 wives. Okay? That's the Middle Eastern view today. And if you try to take this and apply it to that, you see that this can fix a whole lot of things about their system. But today, we consider ourselves rather progressive. It has been said that love is not blind, it sees more, not less. But because it sees more, it is willing to